He's as precious as apple pie. Those were the words my mother-in-law Nancy used when she saw my newborn son. She showered him with such adoration. It was clear she truly loved him. She willingly took care of him when I was at work. But at the time, I didn't notice it. The love she lavished on my son was a bit too much. My name is Emily. I'm 28 years old and working full-time. I married my husband Liam a year ago, and soon after we started living with his parents. Before moving in, I was a little anxious, but my relationship with my mother-in-law was, I believe, reasonably good. She even helped us with household chores, since my husband and I are both busy with work. But if there was one thing that bothered me, it was the daily questions about our plans to have a child. It's been a year since you got married. Aren't you planning to have children yet? I think it's about time you started. You're not getting any younger. Don't you think you should be more mindful of that? Day in, day out, the topic of having kids would come up. Perhaps my mother-in-law meant no harm, but for me, it was becoming a source of stress. It's not like I didn't want kids. But I was also working, and we had financial considerations to think about. My mother-in-law says it's been a year, but from my perspective, we had just been married for a year. I wanted to continue working, and if we were to have children, I wanted a bit more financial security. So having kids right after getting married was not in my plans. I knew my mother-in-law was looking forward to a grandchild from the start of our marriage. But her constant demands, disregarding our situation, were becoming a problem. Feeling worn out from the constant pressure, one night after my mother-in-law went to bed, I decided to discuss it lightly with my husband. She keeps bringing up the topic of kids. What do you think? The daily remarks are putting a lot of pressure on me. I was honest with him about how stressful it was to be constantly asked about grandchildren, without any consideration of our situation.
Well, Mom was really looking forward to a grandchild, but I didn't realize she was pressing you this much. I'm sorry.
My husband seemed surprised. He hadn't thought his mother would be so persistent. He promised to talk to her about it. Then my husband made a suggestion.
Not because Mom is pushing us, but shouldn't we start thinking about having a kid? You know, I've got a promotion coming up, and it looks like my salary will increase,
Liam revealed.
So we'll have a bit more room in our budget, and I think it might be less risky to have a child while you're still young, Emily.
He wasn't forcing the issue, but he wanted to add this to the mix. He hoped I would consider it. Well, if your salary is going to increase, that might be a good idea. Okay, I'll think about it. But for now, please talk to Nancy about easing up. I requested some time to consider, and emphasized to Liam that while I was open to having a child, I needed his mom to stop pressuring us. A few days later, Liam did talk to his mom, and thankfully, her constant prodding stopped. After that, the topic of kids never came up in direct conversations, and before I knew it, I was feeling less stressed. Once things settled down, I found myself more open to the idea of having a child. Just like Liam suggested. About that baby, I think we should move forward with what we talked about. Considering our age and health, sooner might be better, I told him. So we decided to wait for his promotion to be confirmed, and then we would start trying for a baby. Half a year later, everything fell into place, and I found out I was pregnant. We were happy, but nobody was more thrilled than Nancy. She had been waiting for this moment to become a grandmother. Every day, she was restless with anticipation, always checking up on me, which was quite endearing. Although I didn't appreciate her rushing us, I knew it was because she wanted a grandchild so badly. Gradually, I found myself able to interact with her in a more relaxed manner. A few months later, The day of my delivery arrived. Despite my many fears and worries, with the support of my husband and Nancy, I successfully gave birth to a healthy baby boy. We named him Jackson. The joy I felt holding our little son was immeasurable. After the delivery, I went on parental leave and dedicated my time to taking care of our newborn. As a first-time mom, I was groping my way through child rearing, and it was a lot harder than I had anticipated. Nevertheless, the joy of having Jackson far outweighed the hardships, and I cherished every moment I spent with him. Time flew by quickly, and before I knew it, Jackson was nearly a year old, and my parental leave was about to end. I decided to return to work as planned, but then we hit a snag. We couldn't find a childcare center. I knew there was a shortage, but I didn't expect it to be this difficult. Liam and I were left scratching our heads. Eventually, I decided to extend my parental leave. During that time, Jackson kept growing, and by the time he was almost 2, I decided to return to work. We still couldn't find a childcare center, but Nancy offered to take care of Jackson. "You don't want to quit your job, do you, Emily? I'm always home anyway, so please don't hesitate to leave him with me," she said. "I'll just be bored if I'm alone." Her offer was a godsend. With our son turning 2, my husband and I had been planning to enroll him in preschool when he hit 3. There seemed to be enough openings at nearby kindergarten, and we thought we could somehow manage for another year. For the past 2 years, we'd been sharing childcare responsibilities with my mother-in-law. She was someone we felt we could trust to care for our son. Thanks to her, I was able to make a successful return to work. So I started working again. Everything was going smoothly at work, and our life was complaint-free. A year after we started this lifestyle, as our son was about to turn 3, I noticed something odd about him. He used to be thrilled when I came home, but now he seemed distant. He was always around my mother-in-law, not wanting to get close to me. I thought maybe he'd become too attached to my mother-in-law because she was looking after him. But I was also doing my best to communicate with him. I wondered what could have possibly happened. Then, something even more worrying occurred. Our son had stopped speaking almost entirely. As he grew older, he became quite the chatterbox, to the point where it was almost too much. Now, it was as if he was a completely different person, not speaking at all. Could it be because I've been working and he's feeling lonely? Or is there something wrong with him? My husband had also noticed that something was off about our son. We decided to take him to the hospital, but my mother-in-law vehemently opposed this. "A hospital? Why? Jackson is fine. He's a really good boy. I'm the one looking after him, so trust me, don't label this child as sick." She was absolutely frantic in her opposition. This made me suspicious. A woman as overprotective as her should be rushing to the hospital if she thought something was wrong with our son. Yet she was actively opposing us taking him? I had always trusted her with our son, but this made me distrustful. My husband also felt there was something off about my mother-in-law and brought it up one night after she'd gone to bed.
"Do you really think there's nothing wrong with Jackson? Mom was so adamant that he's fine."
"I think we should get him checked out." I agreed with my husband. Our once talkative son had become entirely subdued. No matter how much my mother-in-law assured us he was fine, we couldn't just let it be. We decided on the spot to take him to the hospital immediately. A few days later, my husband took time off work to match my schedule, and we took our son to the hospital. My mother-in-law seemed unhappy about this until the end. "I told you he's fine. This is a wild goose chase." She was still angry as we left the house. She initially wanted to come along, but my husband told her it was best if just the two of us took him, which might have upset her. Ignoring my mother-in-law's irritation, we headed to the hospital with our son. Our son was our main concern, not my mother-in-law. Throughout our journey to the hospital, our son remained silent. My husband and I attempted to lighten the mood, to break his silence, but it was in vain. Could something be wrong with him? We exchanged worried glances. Upon arrival at the hospital, our son went through a series of tests. My husband and I stood by anxiously, awaiting the doctor's diagnosis. We were prepared to accept any result calmly, but the doctor's diagnosis was something we hadn't expected. Despite the multitude of tests, the doctor stated that there was no physical abnormality in our son. A sense of relief washed over us, but it left us puzzled. Why had our son changed so drastically? To our queries, the doctor suggested,
"It might be something psychological."
What could he mean by psychological? On our way home from the hospital, my husband and I discussed various possibilities. Still, we arrived home without any clear answers. As soon as we entered the house, my mother-in-law, as if lying in wait, asked us about the test results. When we told her that there were no physical issues, she responded with a triumphant, "See, I told you so." We deliberately kept quiet about the psychological aspect, knowing that she would likely create a fuss over it. From then on, my husband and I paid more attention to our son than ever before. I made a point of coming home from work as early as possible to spend more time with him. My husband did the same, trying to converse with our son more, even sharing a bath with him, ensuring he established solid communication. Gradually, changes started to appear in our son. He still didn't talk much, but he began to approach me with a smile, just like before. My husband and I reflected on our behavior, thinking that we might have made him feel lonely. I even started contemplating quitting my job. Then one day, after finishing work, I came home to find our son waiting to greet me. Such an occurrence had become rare, and it filled me with joy. As I patted his head and told him to wait in the living room while I changed, my mother-in-law emerged from the living room. Just as I was heading towards the bedroom to change, she stopped me, saying that she had something to discuss about our son. "Recently, Jackson has been showing a defiant attitude towards me. Did you say anything to him?" She asked calmly, but her smile didn't reach her eyes, which struck a sense of fear in me. Defiant? I don't see it that way, and I haven't said anything. Upon hearing my response, my mother-in-law glared at me and began to yell. "Lately, he has been ignoring what I say. It's absurd for him to rebel against me when I'm the one taking care of him. He's being strange, rebelling against me who has been treating him so well." My mother-in-law, who had insisted that nothing was wrong with our son when we tried to take him to the hospital, she is now calling him abnormal. Her words intensified my mistrust towards her. Until now, I had left my son in her care, reassured by her apparent affection for him. But I began to question if that was a mistake. However, I saw no strange behavior from her while we were at home together. But the unsettling feeling I had about my mother-in-law just wouldn't go away. I decided to find out the truth for myself. After having a chat with her, I pulled out an old voice recorder I had used for work and secretly set it up in the living room the following morning. I didn't feel great about spying on my family, and I thought my husband might oppose if I told him about this, so I kept it a secret. Obviously, since the goal was to monitor my mother-in-law, I didn't let her in on the plan either. The next day, after I got home from work, I retrieved the recorder from the living room and played back the recording in our bedroom. What I heard was outrageous. It was my mother-in-law saying the unthinkable. My hand was shaking from shock, and I felt a surge of anger. I was mad at my mother-in-law and at myself for not noticing this before. I collected myself, then contacted my husband. I asked him to come home as soon as he could. I was thinking about leaving the house with our son. I apologized for recording without permission. I attached a message and sent him the audio file I had retrieved from the recorder. Then I quickly returned to the living room, picked up my son, and took him to the bedroom. My mother-in-law looked slightly annoyed, but she didn't say anything. As I put my son to sleep in the bedroom, I waited for my husband to come home. Watching my son's peaceful sleeping face, I heard my husband returning home. Then, I heard him yelling from the living room.
"Hey, Mom, what's the meaning of this?"
He must have rushed back home. My husband was panting. I hurried to the living room as quietly as possible so as not to wake my son. "What do you mean? What's going on?" There was my mother-in-law, stunned by my husband's uncharacteristic rage. I tried to calm my husband down. "Jackson is sleeping." At my words, my husband seemed to come back to his senses. He took a deep breath and motioned for my mother-in-law to sit in front of us. Wait, what? What's happening?" I placed the recorder in front of my clueless mother-in-law. Then I explained why my husband and I were upset. "I'm sorry, but we recorded you while you were alone with Jackson. Can you explain this to us?" I said, and played the stored audio. The numerous words that my mother-in-law had presumably spoken to my son filled the room. It was painful to hear them again. But my husband and I silently endured it and let her listen. "When will you understand I am your mom? You should call me Mom, okay? That woman is not your mom, so don't get along with her even when she comes back. You've been clinging to that woman lately, and you've even welcomed her home yesterday, but you don't have to do that." To my shock, my mother-in-law was demanding our son to call her Mama. Even when I, his actual mother, returned home, she insisted that he shouldn't get close to me. I was stunned into silence when I first heard about it. It also made sense why our son had been acting odd.
"That woman she's referring to is Emily, right? What on earth does she mean by teaching him Emily isn't his mother?"
My husband calmly yet angrily confronted his mother. Rehearing the recording, I realized how unsettling it was. "No, you got it all wrong. This is just a game. I'm just trying to make things fun for him." A pathetic excuse spilled from my mother-in-law's mouth. What kind of game was this supposed to be? To think she would act normal around us but fill our son's head with such nonsense behind our backs. You claimed that our son was abnormal. But isn't the abnormal one here you? All our son did was not act according to her whims, and that's why she labeled him as abnormal. There's nothing strange about a child wanting to be with his mother. But my mother-in-law couldn't stand it.
"A game, huh? Do you really think such an excuse would work? Explain yourself."
My normally mild-mannered husband, for the first time, interrogated his mother with a stern look. Caught in a bad position, my mother-in-law fell silent. No matter what we said, she kept her head down without responding. Finally, my husband, losing his patience, slammed the table and declared,
"We cannot allow someone who does such bizarre things to be near our precious son. We're leaving this house."
Upon hearing that, my mother-in-law, who had been looking down, quickly raised her head. "Huh? Leave? What do you mean? What are you saying? I absolutely hate this idea. It's going to be troublesome. I apologize. Please forgive me." She must have realized what it meant for us to leave. The previously silent mother-in-law suddenly began to apologize. If we left, not only would she lose her grandson she longed for, her life would also become difficult. We had been taking care of most of her living expenses. I felt deep contempt for her when she raised her voice the moment she realized her future living conditions were in jeopardy. Do you think a mere apology can solve this? Do you know how our 3-year-old son felt? Thinking about our son, I couldn't hold back my tears. My husband seemed to feel the same. His eyes red. He threw an even colder gaze at his mother.
We're leaving, whether you're troubled or not. As far as we're concerned, you're no longer family.
With that, he grabbed my hand and headed for our room. We began to pack, picked up our sleeping son, and left the house. The moment we left, my husband apologized to me for his mother's behavior, but I couldn't bring myself to blame her alone. We are also responsible for not noticing it earlier and leaving him with her. Hearing that, my husband murmured in agreement. But severing ties with my mother-in-law was a decision my husband and I made. It was undeniable that our current situation was having a negative impact on our son. That's why we, as parents, must improve it. As we discussed this, we hailed a cab and headed for my parents. I had contacted them before confronting my mother-in-law, so both my dad and mom warmly welcomed us. There, my husband apologized to our son about his grandmother and patiently listened to his side of the story. However, as expected, our son didn't say a word.
He might be hurt deep down. Let's give him some time until he's ready to talk.
We decided to prioritize keeping him as calm as possible for now, while also considering counseling for him.
Jackson, I'm sorry. From now on, it's just going to be the 3 of us. Mom, Dad, and you. You don't have to worry about anything anymore.
My husband gently patted our son's head as he said this. Then, in a feeble voice, our son said, "I don't like Grandma." "Jackson, can you talk?" Surprised, I raised my voice. Both my husband and I, holding back tears, waited for our son to say more. Once we told him he would no longer be living with his grandmother, he slowly began to share everything. The fear of her rage if he didn't treat her as his mother, which made him unable to say a word. Being told that I was a wicked demon and that he should stay away from me. And the confusion he felt because he loved both me and his father and didn't know what to do. In his own halting words, he spoke slowly. I deeply regretted ever trusting my mother-in-law and focusing solely on my work. My husband and I continued to apologize to our son, telling him that from now on, it would be just us 3 always together. We tried our hardest to convey to him how much both of us loved him. Since then, until we found our next home, we lived at my parents' house. Thanks to my mother-in-law's absence, our son started regaining his cheerful self, even speaking with me normally again. Every day, I am sincerely glad to see his smile back. My husband gets daily messages from his mother, begging him to come back home, but he never responds. I used a blocking feature to avoid getting any messages from her. Just the other day, my husband went alone to his parents' house to retrieve our belongings. He apparently completely ignored his mother even then. He told me she was crying loudly, like a child.
Even seeing my mother in that state, I felt no sympathy. The only family I need to protect now is Emily and Jackson. I can't tolerate anyone hurting them, even if it's their own grandparents.
That's what he said while talking about his mother. I'm deeply grateful to my husband for taking immediate action to protect our son. I truly feel that being able to live with my precious family is the greatest happiness. I do feel a little sorry for my mother-in-law, who lost that. Eventually, my husband cut off all contact with his mother, and we moved to a new home. We've arranged to hear from a relative if anything happens to his mother. According to this relative, she's completely deflated, and she seems to be getting more and more depressed every day. She doesn't seem to have much room in her life, and apparently she spends her days crying alone in her large house, without ever going out. On the other hand, we moved to a secure condominium and started our new life. I quit my job to spend more time with my son, and together with my husband, we're doing our best to take care of his mental health. Thanks to that, our son seems to be back to his energetic self. Sometimes he can be a handful, but even that I find endearing. I want to continue watching over my husband and son, to ensure that our son never has to go through anything tough again, because that is our greatest happiness.
Stop leeching off Dad, who earns $9,000 a month. Harper, my husband's stepdaughter, blurted out. Ah. You got dumped by Dad. I'm going to Dad's place. Harper's dad, who disappeared, left me with the bill for her expensive middle school tuition. You don't know anything. Your dad's a liar. What? That makes no sense. This is why it's exhausting to talk to dumb people. Can you just shut up? You lying old hag. I didn't stop Harper as she left the house, looking pleased. She should see the truth for herself. My name is Sophia. I turned 30 this year. Right now, I'm at my middle school reunion. I don't usually dress up, so I went shopping at a department store for this day. Following the clerk's suggestions, I ended up buying clothes and a bag from brands I hardly knew. It was an unexpectedly big expense, but I'm satisfied with the nice things I got. Being single must be nice, with all that freedom. You see this dress? I got it on sale for $29. Exactly. You want to spend your money on your kids. Sophia, did you come here looking for a boyfriend? Most of my classmates are already married with children. It's a bit of a rural area around here, so people marry early. Some already have middle school-aged kids at 30. I couldn't really keep up with all the talk about kids and husbands. Hey, aren't you Sophia? Tired of smiling, I was in a corner of the venue when a man approached me. It's me, Kenneth. Kenneth? I didn't recognize the name. Yeah, I was in the soccer team. We were in the same class too. No way, you don't remember? That hurts. Then, after hearing that he was the star in the soccer team, I finally remembered. The sports ace and handsome, popular Kenneth. Sophia, you look beautiful. I shouldn't say it out loud, but among everyone here, you're the most attractive woman. That reunion was the start of my relationship with Kenneth. About a month into our relationship, Kenneth suddenly confessed the truth about his background. Actually, I'm divorced and have a kid. What? It's a girl. Her name is Harper. I was shocked to hear about the divorce and his child for the first time. And he was raising the child. Kenneth, with a kind face, took my hand. Harper wants to meet you. She wants a new mom. I was confused by the sudden news, feeling my cheeks heat up. Harper is in the 6th grade, 11 years old. Would she welcome her father's girlfriend? Honestly, it's a difficult age. The following Sunday, I met Harper, feeling anxious. Hello. I'm Harper. Dad always talks about you. Nice to meet you. Harper, young but mature, greeted me politely. I'm glad Mom seems kind. Harper murmured in a low voice and was relieved. I'm glad you seem kind. I'd be happy if you became my real mom. Dad really likes you. He's always bragging about you at home. Hey, Harper. What are you saying? That's embarrassing, right? He's totally smitten. Their endearing exchange made me smile. With Kenneth and Harper, I could build a home that was always happy and smiling. Maybe I was blinded by the joy of a new love. With Harper's encouragement, we got married. It was Kenneth's second marriage, so there was no wedding ceremony. I still felt a little longing for a wedding dress, but it couldn't be helped. We just registered our marriage and I moved into Kenneth's house. What happened here? Kenneth's house was a mess, like it had been robbed. When I visited before, it wasn't perfectly clean, but it was somewhat tidy. But I had only seen the living room. Maybe the mess and trash were just hidden in other rooms. My lovely wife, this is your chance to show your skills. He had been neglecting housework to dump it on me, which made me feel sick. But today was the first day of our marriage. I didn't want to fight. I'm good at tidying up. Leave it to me. Of course. Kenneth smirked with a nasty smile, showing his yellow teeth. You're a garbage collector, after all. His tone was dripping with sarcasm. I work in garbage collection. I know it's seen as dirty work by society, but Kenneth is different. I remember what he said during our dating days. Garbage collection is an absolutely essential job for society, isn't it? But it's not something just anyone can do, I know that. You're amazing, Sophia. He looked at me with genuine respect. That couldn't have been a lie. I want to believe that, but the Kenneth in front of me now sneered dirtily. Then, hurry up and get it cleaned. Ah, yes. This is terrible, it's awful. I want to say something, but my voice was stuck in my throat. Harper is here too. I can't just start arguing in front of the child. Hey Dad, she's not moving at all. Is she defective or something? Get to work already. Defective? Well, she's a woman with 30 years of wear and tear. What? You said she was good at housework, Dad. If she's defective, just throw her away. Even Harper, who used to be friendly and sweet, has changed. Laughing, the two of them treat me like a convenient tool for household chores. I feel the blood draining from my face, but realizing this on the first day of marriage was too late. Without much time to think, a month passed. I'm responsible not only for the housework, but also for taking care of Harper. You're late. I've been waiting for 3 minutes. If something happened to cute little me left alone on the street at night, will you take responsibility? When I go to pick her up from tutoring classes at night, complaints fly instead of thanks. She's smart enough to understand complex words, but can't seem to utter a simple thank you. So disappointing. I'm tired. I have school again tomorrow. It's so stupid, there's nothing for me to learn in that low-level school. So annoying. Harper, who is good at her studies, finds her current elementary school unsatisfying. She takes tutoring classes to aim for a prestigious middle school. Around here, taking exams for middle school is rare. I don't want to go to school, but it'll affect my exams. Hey, it's annoying, so drive me in the morning too. Sorry, I can't in the morning. I don't have time. What are you even doing every morning that you're always gone? I'm working. Harper leaned forward from the back seat. What? Work is more important than me? Getting married and then putting your child second is just unacceptable. Even so, I can't just abandon my job. Living off Dad's money and still acting so high and mighty? It's Harper who's being presumptuous. The most important person in this house is Dad. He's our king, and I'm the princess. You're just a servant we picked up from the streets. If you defy me, servants can be easily replaced, you know. It's puzzling how a primary schooler can have such a mindset. The next day, after finishing my early morning job, I come home and start cleaning without taking a break. I managed to tidy up the kitchen, bedroom, and bathroom to some extent, but the hallway and other areas are still a mess. When will this house ever be clean? Get it done by the end of this week. Kenneth ordered me. Wearing a mask, I open another room and find it littered with clothes, snack wrappers, and a pile of pay stubs. Curious, I opened one of the stubs. Wow, a take-home of $9,000. That's a lot. Kenneth's income was more than I imagined. I had suspected he might be short on money, so knowing he has a steady income is somewhat reassuring. Actually, Kenneth has been asking me to pay various bills. It started with utilities. Then there were the mortgage payments and Harper's tutoring fees, which I've been transferring to a designated account. Of course, I'm the one who opens my wallet for daily expenses. I'm too busy, so pay it for me, Kenneth said. He usually doesn't get home until after 10 p.m. He doesn't have time to go to the bank. Apparently, managing the household finances is the wife's job. If he has money, he could at least give me some for living expenses. Even if he doesn't have time to withdraw money for living expenses, it's strange that the account where monthly payments are drawn from is empty. Just putting enough money in the account to cover expenses should be simple. I wondered if Kenneth had some peculiar fixation, but he didn't object when I suggested depositing a lump sum. Now, about these pay stubs, should I throw them away? When I checked the dates, thinking to save the recent ones, they turned out to be from 10 years ago. This is appalling. How long has it been since this room was cleaned? Once the floor was somewhat visible, the next task was the pile of trash bags in the corner. They were filled with a mix of all sorts of garbage, not sorted at all. Opening the bags and starting to separate the contents, I found scraps of paper among the cans and bottles. I can't believe this. There's no intention of recycling at all. Given my job, I can't stand this kind of mishandling of trash. It was difficult, but I managed to pull the scraps out of the cans. Huh? This is... I paused, holding the unfolded scraps. Trash is a mass of personal information. I want to talk to Kenneth about this paper, but it's hard to find the right moment. Speaking to him after he comes home late is pointless. Let me sleep, I'm tired. In the morning, I leave for work while Kenneth is still asleep. 2 months passed like this, and it was time for Harper's middle school entrance exams. She passed. It was a testament to her hard work. Our brief moment of shared joy was cut short by Kenneth's words. So, you pay the enrollment fee, won't you? Me? The fee is $3,000. Didn't you say you'd prepare it from your savings, Kenneth? I've been too busy to go to the bank. I have work now. Harper's your responsibility, Mom. Wait a minute. I grabbed Kenneth's shoulder, but he roughly shook off my hand. Shut up. I'm earning money for this family. You take care of the house, you're the mom, right? He pushed me away and quickly left the house. Stunned, I was met with Harper's mocking smile. The payment for the enrollment fee is due tomorrow, Mom. I had my thoughts about Harper, but I couldn't crush her future. The payment wasn't just the enrollment fee. I needed to pay the first year's tuition too. And other expenses nearly amounted to $10,000. I knew about it, but the amount made my head spin. Moreover, Kenneth was too busy with work to even come home. Just pay it, you're the mom. He hardly answered the phone, but when he did, he ordered me as if it were a matter of course. I'm helping you and Dad out. Be grateful, Mom. Though it pained me to do this for such an ungrateful stepdaughter, I couldn't let her miss the opportunity to attend a good middle school. Even after the payments, Kenneth didn't return home. Between work, cleaning the house, and preparing for starting at the new school, my days were busy, and Harper soon became a middle schooler. We've been living together, just the two of us, for a while. I got transferred, and I'll be moving to live by myself. Take care of Harper. Kenneth's sudden call sounded dubious. He hung up before I could say anything. After that, no matter how many times I called back, there was no answer. With her dad gone, Harper must be feeling insecure. Strong-willed as she may be, she's still a middle schooler. But Harper looked at me with scorn. You got dumped by Dad. With a smirk, Harper was unshaken. She started packing her things into a large bag and plastic bags. She carelessly stuffed a lot of clothes and school supplies, piling them up at the entrance. I'm going to Dad's place. I'll spare you the trouble of driving me. Bye. Harper, do you know where Dad is? Maybe. But I won't tell you. But, Harper, Dad is... Her laughter faded to a serious expression. Shut up. Why did Dad marry you? It's not worth it just for cleaning. Maybe to support me before the exams? It's really a mystery. Then Harper pointed at me. You've been dumped by Dad. Stop leeching off Dad who earns $9,000 a month. There seemed to be no point in continuing the conversation with Harper. All right, I get it. Then I want a divorce from a husband who brings home $900. Harper burst out laughing. You're really stupid, aren't you? You saw Dad's pay stubs when you were cleaning, right? Can't you even count numbers? Maybe you should start over from the first grade. You don't know anything, Harper. Your dad is a liar. What? I don't get it. This is why I get tired talking to dumb people. Can you just shut up? You lying old hag. I didn't stop Harper as she happily left the house. She should see the truth for herself. I know calling Kenneth would be useless, so I just sent one message. Let's get a divorce. I wrote. He read the message but didn't reply. Which probably means he doesn't want to divorce. There's no reason for me to stay in a house where both my husband and stepdaughter have left. I packed my few belongings inside. The house that looked like it had been robbed was now completely tidy. I hoped that improving the messy environment would brighten Harper's heart, but it didn't work out that way. My marriage with Kenneth lasted only about half a year. Trying to change them in just 6 months was a reckless thought. Goodbye. Before leaving, I said a final farewell to the empty house. Then, suddenly, the front door burst open. Dad, Harper, who had left just several minutes before, rushed in, her eyes red. She said, sobbing to me, Dad said he can't live with me, that I should live with you. It's weird, right? So strange. Why? How come? If Harper went to Kenneth, she should know the answer. I gave her that answer in words. Dad abandoned us, both you and me. No! Harper screamed but collapsed weakly in the cold entrance. I know why Kenneth isn't coming back home. It's not because he's busy with work or because he got transferred. He was with another woman, right? I was just a cash cow and a housekeeper, and his real love interest was someone else. Younger and cuter than me, I imagine Kenneth was quite elated with her. Kenneth, who was careless, seems to have introduced her to Harper. Even Harper, a child, must have guessed which one between the two of us was true love. Huh? How did you know? Apparently, she was instructed to keep it a secret from me. Did you think I didn't know? When I was cleaning the house, lots of traces of a woman showed up. Even the photos she printed were thrown away with the trash. They were so scattered that they just got mixed in with the garbage bags. A person who can't throw away trash or sort it properly can't keep a secret. That's disgusting. You went through the garbage bags? Because they weren't sorted. Ew, that's so gross, that's crazy. If I were to borrow Harper's words, what's really gross and crazy is Kenneth's behavior. Kenneth and Harper seemed to mock me together, but Harper didn't really know Kenneth. Before leaving the house, you wondered why Dad married someone like me, right, Harper? That's because he wanted to push you off onto me. What? Kenneth wanted to have more fun with his real girlfriend, but Harper was in the way. But he wasn't cruel enough to abandon and discard Harper. Using his good looks, he approached me and skillfully got a mom who could be used. I was foolish to be deceived so easily. Harper's mobile phone fell from her pocket and started to vibrate. It was a call from Kenneth. I picked up the phone, pressed the answer button, and turned it on speakerphone. Kenneth's cajoling voice filled the air. Harper, I'm sorry. When I said I couldn't live with you, I didn't mean to treat you like you were a burden. I wanted you to stay with Mom. See, if Dad's gone, Mom would be lonely, right? Take pity on the poor woman. It's like, volunteering. You're kind, Harper, so I'm counting on you. Hello, Harper? Are you listening? What does he mean, for my sake? He just wants to get rid of Harper because he wants to have fun with his young girlfriend, and Harper understands that now. Looking down at her, I see her clenching her fists, head hung low. I can't tell if she's crying or shaking with anger. But one thing's for sure, she's deeply shocked. I'm fine being alone. There's no need for volunteering. When Harper fell silent, I replied for her, and Kenneth let out a short yelp on the phone. You were there? Don't just answer someone else's phone. He yells immediately when things go wrong. Isn't that a trait of a stupid person? Kenneth, where are you now? I told you, I got transferred. I'm living by myself. Living by yourself, huh? In an apartment just a 10-minute walk from our house? Huh? Kenneth let out a weird sound. Thinking he could be cheating so close by and not get caught is ridiculous. How come you? I didn't have to follow and investigate Kenneth to find out. It's because of the trash. At the apartment's garbage dump, there was a bag with terribly bad manners. Recyclable and compostable garbage all mixed together, and cans stuffed with tissues and cigarette butts. When collecting garbage, I often saw bags like this, with different types of garbage mixed together. It was the same as the garbage left at home. It's rare these days to see such badly mannered garbage disposal. I realized right away it was Kenneth's trash. You rummaged through the trash bags? That's disgusting. Crazy. Kenneth and Harper call me disgusting and crazy, but they are the craziest. I know you're living with another woman. I want a divorce. Huh? No, we don't have to divorce. Kenneth's voice suddenly became softer. He's making excuses. It's not that I dislike you, Sophia. You're necessary as Harper's mom, and I really trust you. So, don't say such sad things as divorce. He kept talking, but I hung up. Then, I pressed the doorbell of a certain apartment. No one answered even after 3 rings. Thinking they might be busy, I opened the front door. The door was unlocked. Wow! Sophia! Inside the room were Kenneth and the woman, as expected. What are you doing here? Kenneth shouted, spitting, but half hiding behind the woman. I had been on the phone with Kenneth while heading to the apartment. Harper, who was in a daze, was also pushed into the car and brought along. She now sat weakly at the entrance, knocking. We came to your solo apartment. The woman with feather-like eyelashes blinked. You're Kenneth's wife? Such a plain woman. Kenneth likes this type of woman? What bad taste. You should just get divorced. Right. If he wants to play with a cute woman like you, he should just divorce plain old me quickly. Unexpectedly agreeing with me, the other woman laughed. You're kind of understanding, funny lady. Thank you. What's your name? It's Natalie. If Kenneth divorces his wife, maybe I will marry him? Harper's already a middle schooler, so she won't need to be taken care of much, and I can become her mom. What will you do, Kenneth? Natalie peeked at Kenneth, who had shrunk and hidden. Well... Kenneth hesitated, so I thrust the divorce papers at him. I've already filled in my part. Now, what will you do, Kenneth? I hadn't thought of divorcing. If you prefer younger girls, just divorce me. Kenneth fell silent for a while, then asked one thing. Is Harper going to middle school properly? Of course. Then, I'll divorce. Finally, Kenneth signed the divorce papers. I quickly put the papers in my bag. Thank you. I'll file for divorce. I should be the one thanking you. Kenneth, who had been using me conveniently, said something unexpected. I didn't expect such a clean breakup. Kenneth couldn't hold back and burst into laughter. You're really stupid. You were just used and thrown away, get it? I waited silently for the next words. Kenneth started talking proudly. I really owe you one. You cleaned the house and paid for Harper. Thanks. I can say thank you as many times as you want. Thank you. Thank you. Like a mad parrot, Kenneth kept repeating thank you. Sure, you're welcome. Just make sure you pay back the money I've been covering for you. What? That's ridiculous. I've kept all the receipts and records of the payments, so please take care of it. Are you kidding me? Kenneth grabbed me by the collar. I felt my throat being squeezed. Fear made my legs shake, but I tried not to let it show and spoke firmly. Don't be stingy about money, especially in front of Harper and Natalie. It's embarrassing. Kenneth's eyes were bloodshot, but his grip loosened slightly. I freed myself from Kenneth's grasp and pulled out his pay stubs from my pocket. I've seen this. Yeah. Kenneth responded weakly, avoiding my gaze. If he's earning $9,000, he should be more proud. And this stub is from 10 years ago. Earning so much at around 20 years old is not ordinary. Maybe his salary is even higher now. Kenneth, you're amazing. If you're earning this much, you can surely afford $10,000 or even $20,000. Please return my money. Well, but... Kenneth stumbled over his words. Then Natalie patted Kenneth's back. Why are you dragging this out? Just pay her and get it over with. It's annoying. But... Hey, lady. Is $10,000 okay? I have it, so I can pay you, right? Really, Natalie? Kenneth looked at Natalie as if she were a goddess. I just got my paycheck. I was saving up to buy a bag. Natalie pulled out a thick envelope. Here, $10,000. Unexpectedly, I timidly accepted the large sum of money. Thank you, Natalie, for doing this for me. Don't mention it. Kenneth gratefully said to Natalie. Return the money later, okay? The interest can be, $1,000 a day? You can pay me back in 10 days. Her light comment didn't sound like a joke. I thought Natalie was generously helping Kenneth. Kenneth, too, seemed to have thought the same and was left gaping. That much money! Kenneth turned pale and started to tremble. He seemed unable to speak, so I revealed Kenneth's secret. You don't have that much money, do you? Natalie tilted her head. I showed her the pay stub. $9,000 take-home pay. Impressive, right? But... Natalie, aware of Kenneth's supposed high salary, showed no surprise. At 20, earning this much is too incredible. When I checked, such a company didn't exist. The stub is printed on cheap copy paper, the printing is misaligned, and there are typos. It's a poor attempt at imitation. Natalie scrutinized the pay stub. When questioned, Kenneth admitted he had made it himself. I thought it would be cool to have a proper pay stub. Showing off to his wife or girlfriend at the time was neither cool nor impressive. It was spread around the room to purposefully show off to me. What a silly pretense. No way! Harper, who had been sitting unnoticed, muttered softly. Her image of a respectable father shattered. Kenneth, the so-called king of our house, was nothing of the sort. Ignoring the shocked Harper, I handed Natalie some crumpled paper. Even when the wrinkles were straightened out, it was a mess. Natalie opened it. Wow, the gap between imagination and reality is huge. Kenneth, you're unbelievable. Impossible. As soon as she opened the paper, Natalie couldn't stop laughing. She laughed so hard her face turned red. Until recently, she seemed to be considering marrying Kenneth, but she switched her attitude quickly. Harper, looking puzzled, picked up the paper Natalie had dropped. Huh? $900? What? $900? Harper counted the numbers repeatedly, but it was indeed $900. This is Kenneth's real pay stub. He's been working part-time at a distribution warehouse. The crumpled paper was hidden among cans and bottles. Kenneth's recent pay stub averaged $800 to at most $1,000. Respectable for a student part-timer, but disappointing for a 30-year-old man's income. Huh? I thought I had thrown it away properly. Kenneth finally realized his pay stub was being seen and snatched it from Harper's hands. No, this is bad. Don't look at it. Half crying, Kenneth yelled out. He looked pitifully pathetic, and my feelings for him cooled rapidly. Harper and Natalie clearly showed their disgust. What's with those looks? Were you all after my money? Am I worthless to you without money? You're all the worst. Scum. Money grubbers. You won't get a cent from me. Kenneth yelled again. I sighed naturally. It's not that you won't give, but more like you can't give, right? What's there to boast about, Kenneth, with your $900 earnings? Kenneth's mouth opened and closed as he stared in shock, seemingly unable to argue. So the real money grubber is Kenneth, right? You married me for my money, right? I had realized early in our marriage that it was loveless, but being non-confrontational, I hadn't taken any action. Maybe Kenneth was just busy, I thought. Maybe if the house was clean, he and Harper would be happy and accept me as family. I had clung to these faint hopes, pretending not to notice my dissatisfaction. Looking back, I wasted my time and money. Kenneth, defiant, spilled his true feelings. Yeah, that's right. What value do you have besides money? You were flaunting your wealth at the reunion with your brand name stuff, so I decided to let you spend it for me. It's good to spend money before it rots. Kenneth cursed at me with tears in his eyes. Return the money? Don't joke with me. I married a plain, old maid like you, isn't that enough? I actually wanted to keep making you pay for longer, but the divorce was too soon. Well, since you paid the middle school entrance fee, I guess that's enough. The annual tuition is expensive too, $10,000. Without you, I couldn't have afforded it. Thanks a lot. Could there be a more offensive thank you? I hesitated to further expose his shameful behavior in front of Harper, but decided no more mercy. I revealed another of Kenneth's secrets. What nonsense are you talking about? By the way, I found this while cleaning. I showed him a bundle of letters. These are debt collection notices. I found notices from at least 5 companies. Harper's tutoring fees and such must have been expensive. How much did you borrow? No, that's not true. I'm paying them back. Only the interest. Kenneth was speechless. His lips trembled. In addition to the pay stubs and collection notices, there were letters from women and envelopes with forgotten money still in it, suggesting he occasionally got money from women like me. He acted wealthy, but was just a leech earning $900. But, I'm living fine, right? I don't see the point of working hard if you can just borrow money. If this continues, you'll default and won't be able to borrow anymore. Then the government will take care of me. It's a loss not to live smartly. I was wasting my life being involved with this man. I decided to push Kenneth into hell. Probably, your debt-ridden life is over, Kenneth. Soon you'll have to pay for middle school tuition, right? That's about $2,000. Huh? What money? The tuition is payable in installments. I've paid for the first term, but there are still the second and third terms. So, you owe about $4,000 for this academic year. What? I didn't hear about that. I didn't tell you. You ran away, so I couldn't discuss it. You're sneaky. He was too quick to yell. I dropped the final bomb. By the way, I paid the enrollment fee and the first term's tuition with a credit card. I smiled and informed Kenneth. Your credit card. I found the credit card, covered in dust, on the shelf. I wasn't sure if he was trying to hid it from himself or just lost it. I hesitated, but when I tried using it, it worked. I thought it was okay since it was his daughter's tuition. I was worried about being blamed for using someone else's card, but luckily he was too ignorant and could only yell. Don't mess with me. Return the money. It's for your daughter's tuition, right? Besides, I'll be expecting the utility bills, tutoring fees, mortgage payments I've been covering. I'll graciously accept the $10,000 from Natalie. It's a very good deal if you include the divorce settlement. What? Of course, that's not okay. Then, I don't want anything to do with you anymore, so please deal with Natalie about the repayment. I cut off Kenneth's words and unilaterally ended the conversation. I quickly headed outside. No, wait, that's not okay. Hey, wait! Kenneth tried to follow me, but was stopped at the entrance by a pale-faced Harper. What about my school? Even after forcefully shrugging off Harper, Natalie clung to Kenneth, laughing ominously. I thought she was a cute woman, but suddenly she seemed terrifying. Kenneth, you'll be fine with me. I'll introduce you to a good job. Kenneth screamed, paralyzed. Probably feeling an unknown fear. Wait, wait! Sophia! Don't you care what happens to me? Before closing the door, I answered clearly. I don't care. Then I turned to Harper and said with a bit more strength. Harper, you're smart. Use this man as a lesson and live strong. Harper, who had been sobbing, glared at Kenneth with defiant eyes. Wait! I really loved you! Wait! Kenneth's death throes echoed. After that, I immediately filed the divorce papers. Kenneth hadn't contacted me, but he ambushed me at one of the garbage collection sites. I finally found you. I've been waiting for you. Ignoring Kenneth, I silently continued my work. He started talking by himself. Kenneth hadn't managed his money, so he hadn't realized that the forgotten credit card was used, or that there was no money in his account to pay for it. I lost my bank's debit card too. There's no way I would know where it is. Such a foolish excuse wouldn't pass. I'm being hounded for money here and there, but I don't have any. Do something. Kenneth raised his voice but suddenly slumped his shoulders. You're the only woman who can earn money. I thought I'd be okay after breaking up with you because Natalie was earning well. But then she suddenly said she couldn't marry me. That's terrible, right? It's like marriage fraud. It was Kenneth who pretended to be a high earner and deceived people. No woman would want to marry the real Kenneth. Seeing my lack of reaction, Kenneth finally broke down in tears. Help me. Natalie introduced me to a job. They said it's easy to earn money. That can't be right. It must be something dangerous. What's going to happen to me? I'm scared, Sophia. Well, all the garbage is collected. I took a break and looked at Kenneth. Oh, there's garbage here too. But today is only for recyclable garbage. I can't collect useless trash. I'm not trash. Ignoring Kenneth, who is worth less than trash, I got into the garbage truck and drove away. Kenneth stubbornly followed me for a while, but one day he disappeared. He's probably engaged in that convenient job. When Kenneth was gone, Harper ambushed me next. Parents and children do the same thing. Hey, you're my mom, right? Please help me. She started crying as soon as she saw me. My dad suddenly disappeared, and I'm all alone. I thought she was seeking me out of loneliness, but I was wrong. She was still in middle school and couldn't live independently, so she had to either enter a facility or be taken in by relatives. She refused both options. I'll be taken to relatives in the countryside tomorrow. They're poor. I don't want that. Any slight sympathy I had evaporated. You can study anywhere. Leaving her with just that, I returned to my work. Mom! You're the only mom I have. Mom! Harper cried loudly behind me. But I'm not her mom. I returned to my carefree single life. Look, the garbage collector is here. At one collection site, a little boy waved to me. Holding a miniature garbage truck in his small hands, he watched me work. Cool, huh? Adults may avoid me because they think I'm dirty, but many kids love garbage collectors and they always cheer me up. I used to think marriage was enough, but it's the children with their sparkling eyes who really give me energy. Maybe someday, I'll build a warm, lively family myself. With that thought, I waved back at the children with a smile.